guys, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and let's get right into this video. So today we have the Makartt Sweet Cravings collection, and I got my sister Spice here. Say hi, Spice.
Hey, how y'all doing?
We're excited to try this kit. This kit is made for her. I don't know, she likes things like this. So let me show you what you get. The first thing we have here is the Sweet Cravings nail decoration set, and it comes with a bunch of really cute nail charms. It has gummy bears. These are like 3D charms, basically. Stars, looks like donuts and cakes and ice creams, and same thing with this bottom row. Next we have the Water Marble Nail ink set, and basically it just comes with different color inks. Next is the gel polishes. The first color is ginger. Next is cream. Next is sprinkles. The next color is cupcake, key lime, and the last gel polish color is sweet tooth. The next thing we have is the Cuticle Oil Sticks. We have pineapple, jasmine, rose, strawberry, peach, lavender, and cherry. So they're all different flavors. Scents. And the last thing we have here is the Polygel Kit. The first thing you get are the instructions. Then we see here some nail stickers, really cute ones. Next you get a hand file, 100 and 180 grit, a polygel brush, base coat and top coat, and you also get some dual forms, but ew. And you also get some more 3D nail charms. And lastly we have the polygel. Let's get swatching. The first color we have here is called Cake. Next is Icing. The next color is Creme Brulee. And the last color is Frosting. So here are all the swatches, and I'm just gonna cure this in my nail lamp, and then we're gonna get onto with this nail set. So here we have my sister's natural nails. They need some help. They're looking a little crusty dusty. So first things first, we're gonna push back the cuticles. Next I'm gonna be taking this circular drill bit and go around the cuticles. Now I'm gonna take my cuticle scissors and cut off this excess dead skin. All right, now I got my fine grit sanding band, and I'm just gonna remove the shine from these nails. Alright, now I'm just going to clean off the nails. Next, I'm going to be using these extra long nail tips. I'm just going to be using my KDS glue to glue these nail tips on. Alright, now that we got the nail tips glued on, I'm just going to take my tip cutters and cut down the nails. Alright, now I got my hand file, and I'm just going to reshape these nails. Alright, now I'm going to go in with my fine grit sanding band again, and I'm just going to remove the shine. Now I'm just going to take some isopropyl alcohol and wipe off these nails. Then I'm going to go in with some Young Nails primer. I'm going to put a layer of primer on each of the nails. Now I'm going to go in with some base coat, and I'm going to put a layer of base coat. The first color we're going to be using is Creme Brulee. I'm going to be putting this at the tip of the nail. Hey guys, you know when she does my nails, I like to tell some creepy stories. So today's creepy story is from Reddit. It's a creepypasta. It's called Last Seen on Interstate 81. It begins like this. My mom and I drove up to Maryland for the weekend to spend time with our family up there. Flying would have been faster than the 15-hour drive from Northwest Florida. But we didn't want to deal with the COVID restrictions, didn't want to pay for the luggage check, and didn't want to rent a car for our time being up there. So we crammed our suitcases and bags into the trunk of her two-door Hyundai Accent and hit the road as soon as I got off of work on Friday. We always take the I-81 North route because we love the Tennessee scenery and usually try to stop somewhere for a quick bite.
She drove the first half of the trip, and I took over when she got tired sometime around 1 a.m. Because her car is a bit older and doesn't have an aux port or Bluetooth connectivity, oh yikes, she uses a wireless FM Bluetooth transmitter to stream music, podcasts, etc. on our trips. If you're unfamiliar with how those works, you essentially find an unused FM station and tune both your car's radio and the transmitter to that station. You connect your phone to the transmitter through Bluetooth, and voila, you can stream whatever you like from your phone and transmitter. And the transmitter will be broadcasted the signal to your radio. Maybe an hour or so after, she fell asleep. I grew tired of the podcast I was listening to and couldn't think of anything else to stream. So I closed my Spotify app completely. The soft static that spilled from the car's speakers from the unused station mixed with the low hum of the road was pleasant enough.
What?
It's the middle of the night and you're listening at night. Sometimes you just need silence when you drive, especially at night. So it's like, my car doesn't make that static noise, but I turn off the radio sometimes and just listen to like the driving sounds. It's pretty calming. But just before 4 a.m., as I drove through a fairly rural part of Virginia, things got weird. It's been a while since I've seen another car in the northbound lane, a semi-truck or two passing by heading southbound, but the roads were otherwise empty and dark. A sound crackled through the radio, not too loud, but enough to startle me. It sounded like a voice maybe, but was distorted by the static. Assuming I was crossing into a territory where that station was actually used, I reached for the bottom to begin scanning to another station. But before I could press it, the station went quiet again, back to the faint white noise. Shrugged it off, I left the station alone, enjoying the quiet time with my thoughts. But soon, the station crackled to life again. This time, it was a bit more audible. Darkness. See? A distorted, almost raspy voice croaked through the thick static. Oh god. There was no music or other distinguishable sounds behind the voice. Just harsh static that the voice struggled to push through. It dropped back to the soft static for a moment, then kicked back up and continued. In the still. The static that accompanied the voice was still loud and harsh, but the voice was beginning to become clearer with each word as it was getting closer to the broadcasting range with each mile I drove. Hide. I can. The static to voice radio had become more balanced, making the low, raspy voice even clearer. You. The static had dropped out entirely. A shiver ran down my spine, chilled by how the voice had suddenly become as if it was someone speaking from within the car and not broadcasted over the station. I gripped the steering wheel tighter with my left hand and reached for the radio when the voice cut through again like a sharp, seething knife. You can't hide in the darkness. I still see you. You can't hide in the darkness. I still see you. You can't hide in the darkness. I still see you. With an awful sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, I blindly grasped at the radio, trying to find the power button to cut off the repeating broadcast. You can't hide in the darkness. Don't turn it off. No. I can still see you. Recoiling my hand, I glanced to the radio in horror. What sick kind of prank is this? How is this happening? I turned my gaze back to the road and shrieked, waking my mother.
So I'm just going to be taking this frosting color and putting a little bit on my mixing plate here. And I'm going to be taking creme brulee. I'm actually going to be taking cake. And on the middle finger, we're going to be doing a marble. So I'm marbling the green and this orangey pink color. And I'm just going to be taking scoops and placing it on the nail.
A large, dark figure stood in the middle of my otherwise empty lane, and my mother gripped my arm in fear as I slammed on the brakes. Despite my fast reflexes, it wasn't fast enough. The car plowed right through the figure and finally came to a screeching halt a few yards later. With white knuckles and a shudder breath, I looked at my mom, who was wide-eyed and trembling. What was that? She asked shakily, leaning forward to look at the car's hood without releasing grip on my arm. Did you hit it? Did it move? I didn't feel like you actually... She fell silent as a voice began to whisper quietly through the FM radio station. I saw you, 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 I saw you. She slowly, anxiously turned in her seat to look over her shoulder as I hesitated to look in the rearview mirror. I saw you, 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 I saw you. The figure stood monstrous and unarmed where it had stood before a car had blown through it. I saw you, I saw you, I saw you, I saw you, I saw you. What the heck is that? My mother breathed, much out of character for a woman who rarely ever curses. Oh, sorry, I didn't actually say the curse word. I don't know. I barely managed to say the words choking in my throat. I saw you, 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 I saw you. Suddenly, in the dark of the area mass that would presumably be its head, two glowing red orbs appeared. I see you.
No.
Go, 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 my mother shouted, gripping my arm tighter. I floored the accelerator and held the steering wheel still to prevent the car from sliding to one side and another as it gained traction. I kept my eyes on the road ahead while my mother kept her eyes on the creature behind us. Our labored, terrified breaths were the only sound heard within the otherwise quiet car. It's not following us, my mom whispered, her death grip releasing just slightly. I kept driving desperately, hoping the small, feeble car would keep pushing at 90 miles per hour. A sign on the side of the road announced that we were approaching a rest stop. The figure of the creature was long out of sight. Pull off, my mom said, trying to sound calm, but still clearly riddled with nerves. Someone should be in the office, or security or something. We can report it. I did as told and pulled off the interstate. I parked the car into an empty spot in front of the well-lit facility and shut off the engine. She immediately climbed out of the car and jogged up the office, ringing the buzzer, hoping an attendant was inside. I unbuckled my seatbelt, climbed out of the car and sat on the hood, watching as a female attendant opened the door to my mother and then as the overnight security officer took a statement from her. But I knew it didn't matter. There was nothing they could do. It was too late. He already saw us. That's the end of the story.
That is creepy one. Maybe it's like a hit and run, right? Mm-hmm. Some person hit them, they died, right? But they saw who the person, like they could see right before they got crashed into who it was, right? Mm-hmm. Right? And then that's what they do. They haunt that road and they just keep saying, I saw you, you know what I mean?
That's interesting. Reminds me of a supernatural episode.
Mm-hmm. Next nail, I'm going to be using this pink and the yellow and we're going to be marbling it again.
Okay, that last story was very, very creepy. Share your thoughts, what it could be, like what you thought of it. And the next story that I'm going to be reading is from Reddit No Sleep. It's called I Found a Secret Room in My House. Someone has been living there and watching me. The story starts like this. Rewind. This is because it's a series. I had to find the first part of the story. This is the first part of I found a secret room in my house. I'm pretty sure it was built for something evil. Living alone is the best possible arrangement until you find that there is no good explanation for that footstep at night. I was hovering in the gray spaces between asleep and awake when I finally understood what I was hearing. I opened one eye to look at the digital clock. It was 12:19. Just 13 minutes after I'd gone to sleep, and the rhythmic sound had tapped their way into my dream sequence. Thump, thump, thump. Was a friendly man knocking at my door. Thump, thump, thump. Went the footsteps on my wooden floor. Hey, yo, that rhymed. I opened the other eye and sat up. It's always difficult to untangle the sticky haze between early dreams and an empty house. I definitely heard something, right? Thump. I imagined that the source was holding its breath, because I certainly was. I tried to make sense of my surroundings. The red glow of the digital clock was the only light. I could hardly see any of my own bedroom. It had sounded like footsteps coming from the wooden hallway floor. I still didn't dare to breathe. I was renting the entire second floor of my house, so there was no neighbors that could have been walking through the halls. Anyone treading on the wooden floor had to be in my home with me. Everything was silent now. I let out a sigh. Thump. Oh dear. My pulse shot up high enough to cause physical pain. That ever happened to anybody?
Wait, so she's awake. She woke up.
Yeah.
Okay.
My mom told me that a single woman living in this town was at risk. I had actually convinced myself that I was safe, and right then I blamed my mom for letting me do so. What was I supposed to do? Call the cops, only for them not to find anything? No. Just go back to sleep, like nothing was wrong. Oh, heck no. There was only one thing for it. I crawled out of bed, grabbed my Louisville Slugger with one hand, and plucked little Doodles off my nightstand with the other.
Huh?
Doodles was my stuffed dog.
Oh.
He kept me safe.
I'm like, wait, what?
I took a deep breath and headed out of my bedroom door. I couldn't take a flashlight with me because that would alert any potential intruders and or monsters that I was about to discover them. I didn't think that my baseball bat looked very intimidating when paired with my long-sleeved pink silk pajamas, so I needed to keep the element of surprise on my side. Putting one bare foot in front of the other, I stalked slightly through my living room, across my kitchen, along the short hallway, and poked my head into the bathroom. The bathroom is always the worst moment when checking for intruders because Bloody Mary lives there. I looked in just far enough to see my own silhouette reflected in the dark mirror. I told myself that I would keep the lights off because I was staying clandestine, not because I was terrified that the image in the mirror would become a horribly wrinkly, haunted version of myself. I slipped out of the bathroom and into my tiny office. It was empty, of course, and that only meant one thing. I had to check the office closet. Without breathing, I stepped closer, resting a shaky hand that was still clutching Doodles on the knob and held the bat aloft. I opened the door and gasped.
So on the pinky finger, we're going to be doing an ombre. I'm going to be taking the green color and putting a bead at the tip of the nail.
I opened the door and gasped. Nothing. Relief washed over me. Heck, I didn't even realize how much I let myself slip towards the teetering edge of panic until I finally abated. Whatever I've been hearing clearly wasn't a stalker. Who knows exactly what it could have been? That echo in my room. I paused. It couldn't have come from the living room or kitchen, because those were on the other side of the bedroom wall. The sound had been much closer than the office, as though it were just across from my bedroom door. Where would that place be? I walked past the kitchen hall and living room. Then I turned back into the office. I stared at the walls in confusion. Why the heck was my office so small, and why hadn't I asked this until now? Too much central space carved up a rectangular floor plan. Brow furrowed, I moved back into the tiny office closet. This space should have been much bigger. Maybe it had been made smaller to clear for that central heating duct? I got really cold here in New York, so this house must have been built around it. A tall vent stood in the back of the closet. I latched onto it and pulled. Clank! The grate had come off, and much more easier than I expected. I kept a flashlight in the office closet, so I switched out Doodles to grab the black maglet my dad had given me when I moved out.
What's a maglet?
I'm gonna assume the flashlight brand?
Oh.
I flicked it on and pointed it to the drafty opening. Holy heck. There was more space in there than my entire office. How the heck had I not noticed this? I didn't want to go in. Then I imagined spending the entire night trying to fall asleep knowing I hadn't checked inside.
I checked inside for breadsticks.
Can I get one?
Yeah, these are for you.
No way.
Well,
Not?
I gotta go before I get like this.
Aw, bye, thanks. Look at my garlic knot.
Ooh, that's real close.
Here's a stick. Breadstick.
And now I'm going to be taking the pink polygel and putting this at the cuticle area for this nail.
Then I imagined spending the entire night trying to fall asleep knowing I hadn't checked inside. I crouched down, took a deep breath, and crawled in. Oh yikes, would you crawl in?
Mm-mm.
Within one step, it had opened up enough for me to stand. I waved the flashlight around frantically, pointing the bat like a rifle.
Honestly, if you're afraid like that, just call the police. Like, I'd rather be afraid and look stupid that there's no one in my house than be dead.
To be afraid and then dead. Within one step, it had opened up enough for me to stand. I waved the flashlight around frantically, pointing the bat like a rifle. Checking every corner. It was empty. My heart thrummed loud enough to alert the neighbors as I took in every detail of the room. It was unfinished and not insulated, revealing only the reverse of the drywall and bare studs as decor. A thin coating of dust covered the plywood, and it stank. Ooh, girl, she stank. Something was in the corner. I pointed a trembling flashlight towards it and stepped forward. It slowly came into perfect clarity. My throat trickled with the gentle caress of pending vomit as the tears crowded my eyes. Discarding rotting pizza crust, empty bottles of water, a ragged sleeping bag that clearly belonged in the trash, one greasy sock, a moldy toothbrush, and a pile of very, very crusty tissues. Someone had been living in my house? I shook. There was more. I slowly knelt down to pick up a stack of something that had been left by the tissues. They felt disgusting, slimy, and heavy in my hands as I lifted them up, understanding what they were. No. Photos of me in my apartment, me cooking dinner, me watching TV, me covered in a towel as I came out of the shower, me on the toilet. I sobbed. One photo was taken from above my head while I was sleeping. The photographer was no more than 3 feet from my face. The world felt tilty, like I was on an unstable boat. I dropped the photos, turned and headed for the office closet. In a daze, I moved the grate back in place, closed the closet door, and shut the office behind me.
So if she heard thumping, does that mean that they left or something?
Most likely. I'm in shock. Who was in my home? How did he escape if his footsteps were audible just moments before? And why did I let myself forget the bat in that horrible hidden room?
No. That's when you call the police, girl. You shouldn't have even been in there, but... So on the thumb, I'm going to be taking the green and the orangey color, and I'm just going to be marbling it like the other nails.
This is part 2 of the first half of the story that I read. Now, this is titled, I Found a Secret Room in My House. Someone has been living there and watching me. Last week, I discovered that a man had been living in my house. I called the cops, of course. They showed up and checked out the hidden room. After a thorough examination, they arrived at a firm conclusion. A man had been living in my house. Wow, thanks. So, what do I do now? I asked the port cop who was busy filling out a report. He mumbled, finishing his work and pocketing the notes. You might want to stay in a hotel or something. He didn't make eye contact. A pause ensured. Okay, I responded. So, when do you think it's safe for me to come back home? The cop scratched the back of his head. When this guy's gone, I suppose? I gonked at him. So how will I know when that happens? I wanted an answer, any answer. He huffed. Look, I don't know. Come back when you feel safe to come back. He put his hands on his hips. So you're saying that you have no idea who this guy is? I narrowed my eyes at him. No. I think I answered that question already. Every single time you asked it. He glared at me from the corner of his eyes. Well, what do you want to do? What do you want us to do? Arrest someone who isn't here? They left. I couldn't really afford a random stay at a hotel. Being new to town, I had no friends, and I wasn't likely to make any by calling casual work acquaintance in the middle of the night to request a slumber party. I could move, but that would take weeks of preparations, and my plans would be very obvious to a stalker inside my home. So I went back to bed. I didn't sleep that night. For the next week, I kept my Louisville Slugger on one side of the bed and Lil Doodles on the other. Doodles is my stuffed dog. I considered buying a gun. I quickly realized, however, that people are very misinformed about firearms. I wasn't going to turn into She-Rambo by purchasing a pistol from the Walmart, and I truly didn't think I had it in me to end another person's life, so I waited for the cops, who promised to keep an eye out and call me if anything came up. They didn't call me. Do you want to know how to dream about stalkers all night? Have one show up in a secret room in your house. That will haunt you every sleeping, waking moment. I finally cracked. My mom said that this city was too dangerous for a single woman to live alone. I hadn't told her about the secret room. She'd certainly freak out, but ultimately wouldn't have any more solutions than the cop did. Well, she might tell me to come home and live in my childhood bedroom for the rest of my life, but that wasn't an option for me. Regardless, it was time to accept defeat and tell her that she'd been right. Hi, Mom. Can I talk to Dad? I said as soon as she picked up the phone. What's up, Olivia? I guess that's her name, is Olivia. Dad, what's up, Olivia? Dad asked as he whisked onto the line. I squeezed little Doodles. Hey, Dad, I kinda had a weird question. So, how did you find this apartment? You said it was a friend of yours who gave you the info? Several seconds of clicking interrupted his response. Does that make sense? He asked after the line cleared. No, I actually didn't get any of that. It's just that this place is... The clicking cut me off. Dad? There's something wrong with the connection. Sorry, honey, he answered as the sound finished. I don't think you heard me. I clenched my jaw. Things were stressful enough without struggling to make myself understood. I hate it when this happens. So something came up that I need to talk to you about. Can you hear me? More silence, then interspeed clicking. Then interspitted clicking. Oh yikes, sorry, I can't really pronounce that word. Dad, should I text you instead? No, his voice came through. No, just listen. My stomach felt the cold clay. I'm listening, Dad. More clicks. Dad, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Can I call you back later? His voice comes in burst. One brief moment of clarity shined through. Love you, Olivia. Talk to you soon. I hung up the phone. I was alone, I was terrified, and I missed my mom and dad. I closed my eyes and curled into a fetal position. I opened one eye. Then, the clicking had been regular enough for me to memorize it. Maybe a ham radio was interfering with the frequency? A ham radio? I didn't know what a ham radio or frequency were. I had a thought that I wanted to dismiss, but I couldn't. It rattled around in my head like a trapped bee bumbling against the inside of my skull until I finally let it out. I opened the other eye. Sometimes we check things that we know are false just to cleanse them from our minds. Even the most ridiculous of notions get trapped by people willing to do the hard work of believing them. So I got up and headed to the computer, thinking of the clicks as I opened Google. I laughed at myself for shaking. Fortunately, this will be all put to rest in just a second. Short, long, short, pause. Short, short, long, pause, long, short. Repeat.
So it was clicking and she didn't see, like, she didn't think that was weird. I mean, now she's checking, but when it was on the phone, like, you don't hear clicking like that.
My internet was slow. What was it called? Morn sequence? No, that was stupid. Morse sequence. Oh, yikes. That was it. A quick search revealed Morse code. I looked up the different letters and grabbed a pencil. To my surprise, the cycle actually translated. Surprise became unease, and unease turned into reaching for Lil Doodles and Louisville Slugger. Louisville Slugger is her baseball bat. With that same shaking hand, the same 3 letters had been coming through over and over from my father's phone. Run.
Wait, so he knew? The dad?
No way.
So that guy's probably listening then.
Probably. That's why the dad kind of, I bet, mentioned it to her like that. But that's the end of the story, I think.
Oh my. So how did the dad know?
Because the dad is the one who offered, like,
why
gave
would
her
he,
the information
if
for
he
that
knew?
apartment. I don't think he knew. Maybe he knows now. Actually, I don't know.
Because why wouldn't he tell her?
Because the series, I guess it's not updated.
These nails look how good at application. Come on. I don't even need to shake those. Bye, have a nice day. All right, now I'm just going to wipe off the nails using some isopropyl alcohol.
Yeah, so I think the dad, like, warned her.
Yeah, but how does he know? And why wouldn't he tell her sooner? These are looking so cute so far. But we have ombres here, so we're going to have to encapsulate a little bit. I just got some clear polygel.
It's a 2-sentence horror story. Oh, it's kind of funny. It's a 2-sentence horror story. It's just 2 sentences. So this one is, my wife told me that someone was following her last night, and I was so angry. I've asked the hitman to get this job done without being spotted.
No.
After years, it was finally nice to see my parents willing to be in the same room as each other. I just knew my brother's funeral would do it. Yikes.
So does that mean she killed her brother?
What a horrible accident. You say, holding your hands in front of your mouth as you notice the bloody and mangled body at the bottom of the cliff. Wrong. A voice laughs behind you.
Not an accident.
Yeah. You say, what a horrible accident, and someone's behind you. wrong, and then pushed you off. That one's good. I like that one. I heard strange noises every night and thought my house was haunted. Then I found a makeshift bed, a half-eaten breadstick, and a stack of candid shots of me in the attic.
Sounds like the story we just read.
The comments underneath said, "This is not horror, this is a documentary." And then another comment said, "I would rather be haunted." The people of the village were not particularly surprised or saddened by the sudden disappearance of their town drunk. It was only when the well water took a peculiar taste that somebody realized they should have shown more concern. Someone pushed him down the well. I always wondered what it's like to be a fish. As I stared out of a tank, becoming less me and more fish, I realized I should have never hacked the government's computers. One comment said, "If I'm understanding it correctly, it's basically they hacked the government's computers and now they live in a tank government secret jail." That's interesting. I like that one. This next story is Reddit no sleep, and it's called The Match. I opened my eyes. I was sitting uncomfortably in a small wooden chair in my living room. Uncomfortably was perhaps an understatement. I had been bounded to the chair and the ropes were digging into my flesh. My mind was groggy and I was struggling to make sense of what had happened to me. I just couldn't seem to remember. My head was throbbing. It felt as if I was being clubbed by something hard, which was a reasonable assumption, considering I was now tied up to a chair in my living room. But why? I was no one. I never did anything to anyone. As an introvert, since as far back as I could remember, I rarely left home except for groceries or occasionally a short trip. I even worked from home. What would anyone possibly have to gain from doing whatever it is that they were going to do with me? I heard rustling coming from behind me. Someone was going through my closet. I couldn't see anything. I had been blindfolded, but they had left a little room at the bottom. I could just make out the edge of my coffee table. I was struggling against the ropes, but wasn't getting anywhere. They had done a better job with the ropes than they had with the blindfold. I heard footsteps coming from behind me, and they approached the coffee table. I kept my mouth shut. I didn't want them to know I was awake. A plan that turned out to be pointless. Somehow they knew. We both know that you're awake. So it was a he? His voice was familiar. I couldn't place it for some reason. It was as if I had heard it before, but somehow did not quite register with my mind. He sat something down gently on the coffee table. I tried to glance at it, but there was simply not enough space underneath the blindfold. I could hear sounds as he sat something up. I did not understand. None of this made sense. "It will. Don't worry." What? What just happened? I didn't understand. I haven't spoken. I haven't said a word. Yet he responded to me. He had answered me. I was frightened. Something here was off. I struggled against my bindings, but it was useless. There was no way that I could get out from them. He had done a good job. I felt like I even recognized this type of knot that he used. You better. It's basically the only knot that you are halfway decent at. My heart thumped against my chest. How was he inside my head? Who was this? What did he want? Why me? I was beginning to panic. Relax. We're just going to play a game. He came up behind me and pulled the blindfold off, and I blinked thrice as my eyes adjusted to the light. Thrice. I didn't want to see his face. I relaxed the muscles in my shoulders and looked forward towards the table. What the? A chessboard? Why had he set up a chessboard? What was the point of doing that? It didn't make any sense. None of this did. Why chess? Because we're about to play, obviously. His voice dripped with amusement. Why did he sound familiar? Oh, amusement. Wrong tone. He walked right by me and sat on the couch opposite of me. He had a baseball cap pulled down low over his brow and a scarf wrapped around his neck. I couldn't see anything. "Are you ready to play?" I did not understand, and I did not care to. No, I didn't want to play. I was scared, too scared to speak. I just wanted whatever this was to be over. I wanted it all to go away. Be careful what you wish for. I couldn't take this anymore. How was he inside my head? Why was he inside my head? What was he doing to me? Why had he hit me so hard? I couldn't stop the dull throbbing of my skull. It felt like he took a hammer to it. Maybe he had. Let's see if we can see eye to eye. He took off the hat and dropped it on the table, then began to unwrap the scarf that was hiding the rest of his face from me. I closed my eyes tightly. I didn't want to see. These people, these violent, dreaded lunatics, they would kill you if you saw their face. The cops or whoever would find pieces of your body tossed in garbage bins after people like this satisfied their urge. Open your eyes. That voice, something about it. It was distant, far away, as if it was from a memory I couldn't quite recall. Someone I had known when I was young, perhaps? Open your eyes and find out. So I did. I found myself looking directly at my own face. My heart thumped violently against my chest as I struggled to make sense of what I was seeing. I couldn't be staring at myself. It was obviously me. None of this makes sense. I was frightened. I finally made eye contact and looked deep into my own eyes. Wait, those are not my eyes. There was something wrong with those eyes. Some kind of strange blue dots traced around inside of his pupils. It never seemed to sit still. It darted from side to side and up and down, never stopping. It was captivating. It relaxed me for some reason. I knew that it shouldn't, but it did. The blue light put me at ease. It didn't help the pain though. My head was still throbbing. It was getting worse. Good. Now are you ready to play? He moved a pawn up 2 spaces. I had not played chess in years. I was about to start now. I looked down at the board. It was only for a fraction for a second. It was just a glance, but it was like riding a bike. My mind instantly remembered the rules, the set, every game I ever played. My mind also knew exactly what move that I would have to make. His hand grabbed the exact piece from my side of the board and moved it to the location that I would have. He knew my moves. He even made them for me. He was inside my head. He grabbed another pawn from his side and moved it forward. I shut my eyes. If they were closed, I couldn't see. If I never stared at the board, then this would never progress. Then what? You sit tied to a chair with yourself sitting across from you for the rest of your life? He acted like this was a game. But he was right. I had no choice here. I didn't know who or what this thing was capable of, what it had wanted with me, why it had chose me. My head was killing me. I shut my eyes for the sweet relief of darkness. You still don't get it, do you? I opened my eyes. There was no one there. I looked down. There was nothing tying me to a couch. The couch? I was tied to a chair. No, I'm tied to a chair. I tried to stand up. I couldn't move. I blinked and again for a split second the world was black again and hidden behind my eyelids. My eyes opened and there he was. I was, whatever it was, staring down at me from the front of the chair. The chair? What was happening to me? You need to catch up. You need to think. Pay attention. But most importantly, you need to play the game. I could hear my thoughts colliding with the walls of my mind. The noise was defeating. I couldn't get a single word to come out. The pain took over and jumbled every coherent thought that I tried to assemble. Tears of pain slid down my face as I tried to make sense of what was happening to me. I couldn't think, though. I was unable to find thoughts inside of my own mind. It had become completely replaced with the invading noise. I could feel something in my head beginning to fracturate, something that was inside my mind and was destroying from the inside. The pain was excruciating now. I tilted my head back and made the first sound I had ever made that night. I screamed. My throat burned as I screamed louder than I have in my entire life. I tried to fight the bindings that secured me. I struggled and tried to rock the chair that held me in place. To somehow move in any way, I needed to be free. I needed to get out of whatever this was. But nothing worked. Then it hit me. If there was no rope, if I wasn't tied up, then maybe I wasn't hit in the head. Maybe none of this was real. Maybe it was all inside my head. My shoulders drooped forward in defeat as I realized the severity of my situation. There was no intruder, no physical presence. There was no bindings, and there was no chair. Maybe none of this was real. Maybe it was all inside my head. My shoulders drooped forward in defeat as I realized the severity of my situation. There was no intruder, no physical presence. There was no bindings, and there was no chair. I was in no danger of being sliced up by some deranged lunatic who somehow wore my face. I was facing a much worse fate. Something or someone had come for me. It wanted to rip me out and tear apart everything that made me who I was, to take every single fiber of my being from me. It was already inside me. It wanted everything from my mind to my very soul. Then suddenly it all snapped into place. Just like that, in an instant, the pain was gone, the sound disappeared, replaced by clarity of what was a simple truth. Nothing here was in my control. Nothing here made sense. All that mattered was the game. For the first time, I could think with no outside distractions. There was nothing but me and him. A chessboard between us. I would either win or lose here. I would either find my freedom from whatever monster this was that had taken my mind hostage, or I'd find out what if I... You want to read a cat story, Mimp?
It's like one with girl cats.
Girl cats. Man.
Well, we're kind of done.
We're kind of done?
Uh-huh.
Well, I guess we finished the story in the next nail video you see me in.
Dang, but I want to know what happens to this man.
I want to know what happens too.
So before I start shaping, I'm going to wipe off the sticky layer from the nails. Alright, and now I just got my Makartt dust collector in my hand file, and I'm just gonna get reshaping. Hey guys, so this is a voiceover. I just woke up, this is why I sound like this. But anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying the video so far. It's a very long video because my sister was telling the stories. I kind of wanted you guys to see like the whole process of applying the polygel, because it can get very long. It was still edited down a little bit. Let me know if you guys want stories like that in my other videos to come. They're definitely fun to add. My older sister likes telling them, and I could tell some of them too. And I also want to do like true crime because I really am obsessed with true crime. So yeah, let me know if you guys like to hear those kinds of stories and if you would want more. We're on to the shaping right now, and so far this nail set has gone really well. Like, I feel like it is some of my best work, like application wise, and shaping was really easy because I did the application so well. But if you guys are interested in this Makartt Sweet Cravings Polygel Kit, I 100% recommend this kit. It is such a fun kit. It's so fun and so cute. First of all, I really love all the polygels. I like how they're that shimmery color. They're just like a different type of shimmer, and I love them so much. They're so cute and they go really well together. I was able to use all the colors in this one nail set. Next favorite thing is those nail charms, which you will see coming up. I put so many of those charms on these nails because I just love them so much, and they just made the whole set come together and just turned this nail set up to another level. I really enjoy this collection and this polygel kit. I definitely recommend the nail decoration little kit too as well, because that comes with all the good stuff. All the information for this collection, for this polygel kit, will be in the description. I definitely recommend you can use the code nailsbyvic on the Makartt website for 15% off, or you can just go on Amazon, and I'm pretty sure they might have the collection there, but they'll definitely have the polygel kit. It'll all be linked in the description. Yeah, I think this kit in the collection is one of my favorites by Makartt. So here are how the nails are looking after they have been shaped and filed. Alright, so we have all our decorations here, and I just got my rhinestone gel. So I'm just going to take some rhinestone gel and paint that on the nail. Alright, now I'm just going to take some top coat and paint over this wet rhinestone gel. And now I'm just going to get sticking in the designs. I'm just gonna fill them in. Oh yeah,
as filler.
And for the finale, we're gonna be using these Cuticle Oil Sticks. Spice wants me to use a different flavor on each finger. So that's what we're gonna do. So you just pull off the cap and then you twist the bottom and cuticle oil comes out. Let me really scrub that in there because these brushes are very nice and nice. Cool. Does it smell good? It doesn't really smell like anything. Next to strawberry. Not strawberry. It smells like kind of rose, honestly. Alright, so here is how the nail set turned out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I really love this nail set. I think it is so cute. Well, first of all, those cuticle sticks, they were nice and I like the brush on them, but the scents, like, they didn't really smell like much. They didn't smell what they said they would smell. Besides that, I love this nail set. I love everything about it. I love all the nail charms. Let me know what you guys think. And that's pretty much it for this video. This video was really long. Let me know what you guys think of longer videos like this and if you want creepy stories in them. Yeah, so this was a fun nail set and a fun video to do. And that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I will talk to you all next time.